Mark Zepp. We got Ross Ellwanger, Jason, and myself.
And Buddy.
Drum roll, please.
I don't have that.
Do
one
you have those
programmed
buttons
in.
on that?
I do, but I haven't programmed them
Oh, the podcast we have now has these buttons, and you can be like,
I like it.
Yeah. Anyways, so here we are. We're at Wisconsin Bear Hunter Association. We've been instructed by the bosses that we could not take two of us out at the show
After
at the
it
same time.
starts.
So we're going to try and do this before the show. I think I bought like 15 minutes of the show.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not busy or anything here.
No, but Jess was nice. She's like, could you just please not take both of you out? I'm like, oh, okay. That's what her job is to reel me in.
She's a good shop mom.
Yeah. So one of the things that the topic today is going to be a little different. It's still about W, but I've been doing a lot of reading and research, and I've kind of got a little class that I'm taking on business and stuff like that. And so I thought with you guys, Mark, you got your own business and stuff. You work at Garmin, you worked at Wix, in this stuff. You got a lot of experience there. Ross, what do you do for funds?
I own a commercial flooring company out of St. Paul, Minnesota.
How long have you been doing that?
Well, I think our origination papers would say we started in 2008.
Okay.
So
a while. So you're going through some learning. Jason, you've run Plumtree.
Yeah, for a little while.
Now you're running Double Jew.
Running W. You're funny. Just answering phones, man. I'm the best receptionist you got.
Your job. What is your job?
I know what title you gave me, but I don't know. My job's to show up.
See, then I'm not doing my job.
Do what needs done.
What's your business card say?
I don't even have
Don't
one.
give him business.
6 years, I don't even get a business card, man.
You need to see the new business cards.
I did. They look pretty cool. I didn't see the embossed ones or embossed, but I saw the topo.
You see the new embossed ones, which are for the graphics side.
The fancy.
It's not for the.
It's not for the peasants.
Now I'm talking on the podcast. I'm like, man, this sounds really bad. We did a really nice, because I have that printer, and so I've been getting jobs from people who want logos and stuff for their business, and so I wanted a card that felt good.
Professional.
You know what I mean? Like it was like, man, if we're gonna do a graphics job for somebody, I wanted to hand them a card. So we went with, it still has the logo, but it has some topo, so we did embossing. It's a little more expensive business card.
Clean.
It's nice and clean. It doesn't have, like, our email is a different email. You know, it's just a different vector for somebody to come into W. So it says WLLC instead, not W Hunt Supply.
Sure.
Like, business graphics, and we can help you with, shirts and all the stuff that we do for our business.
Because Buddy went full circle from graphics to graphics.
Back to graphics.
Going back to graphics before we die. So anyways, those cards came out really good. You
they
see
did.
One. But on that journey, one of my things that, and I think this is natural for all businesses at some point, you kind of grow, and at least for me, I didn't know what the hell I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. I mean, I'll be honest. We just wing that shit. I'm like, okay, here we go.
We do a good job. You do a good job, buddy.
I want to look back and go, okay, we've had some success and we've had some failures. And I'm trying to look back and go, okay, let's reinforce the successful moments of W and try to drink away the failures. Let's move on to the failures. And so with business, I want to do that. And one of my projects I'm doing is coming up with a mission statement and a vision statement, right? And you know how hard that is to come up with a vision and a mission statement? I don't know if I could put you on the spark, Mike. Do you know?
I'm not a deep thinker like that. I mean, it's very, people.
I was going to ask you.
I like hound dogs.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Mark. Hopefully, nobody at Garmin listens to this podcast.
Oh, they don't.
Do you know the vision and mission statement for Garmin?
I do, not off the top of my head. I don't want to say it.
Don't say the wrong
That
thing.
would be right.
But it's. I mean, it's very good, and it's. They had one at Tritronics as well.
What was theirs?
Gosh, that's so long ago
Okay.
already. But it takes a while for somebody to come up and with all of that to be the industry leader, and and all the thoughts around that. I've just
What's the premise of Garmin's mission statement? Like, what
great products, right, and to make everybody's life easier.
can somebody look this up? Does somebody got their phone? Google Garmin's mission
Hey,
statement.
Google.
I'm doing homework, so I'm not trying to.
No.
Mark's gonna be like, I'm never doing a podcast.
He
with you
won't.
again,
He's
buddy."
done one with us before, and this is the last one.
But this is what I'm studying right now, and the reason a mission and vision is so difficult. I'll just about finishing this book called Start with Why, and it's because the reason people are loyal and trust a company is not with words. You know what I mean? It's not a logical decision. So read it to us. Go for it.
I can't read.
Hey, you're gonna be like
Somebody read this.
Joe Rogan's counterpart. What's that guy that's always doing that?
Okay.
Better don't pay like Joe Rogan. Oh, let's see. The mission to be an enduring company by creating superior products for automotive, aviation, marines, outdoor, and sports that are an essential part of our customers' lives. And the vision.
Before you say that, I would say as far as us and dog products, they've made a product that's a pretty essential to our lives. So I mean,
it's changed hound hunting. I think
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
there's no denying how.
so
much
read
it's
that
changed
last
us.
part again. I want to just.
Well, it was all just.
Is it
one
hot
part.
in here, Mark?
To be
No.
an enduring company by creating superior products for automotive, aviation, marine, outdoor, and sports that are essential part of our customers' lives.
Okay, what's the vision?
The vision, we will be the global leader in every market we serve, and our products will be sought after for their compelling design, superior quality, and best value.
Okay.
You were right on.
Right on.
No, I mean,
I can
word
see
for
how
word,
you can't
basically.
remember that.
Yeah.
I can definitely be like, I'm not going to say
Somebody smart wrote that.
it. Yeah.
You want the values?
No.
Okay.
I don't care about
You can
values.
have back Ross.
And I
We don't
don't-
care about values.
No, but the values are so easy. Like they're just words. I mean, trust and support and just, you know what I mean? Like that. It's easy for me to come up with values for W. And that's the easiest part of this whole exercise. The mission and the vision are the hard part, because what I've learned in this book is the book is called Start with Why. It's that people don't make decisions with their logical side of the brain. You know what I mean? It's more of an emotional decision and connection to these companies a lot of times. It's not like, and if you ask them, like if I ask people why you shop W, they'll be like, oh, customer service. They'll give you all the logical reasons, but that's not really why they're connected to a brand most of the time. Unless this book's full of crap and I don't.
I was going to say you bought it, so I mean the book's
Yeah.
doing its purpose.
But it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all those things. Great customer service. Those are all commodity. You know what I mean? Like it's not like we have the circle of great customer service. There's other companies that give just as good as customer service as we do, and people are yet loyal to us over them. So it's not just like when somebody says, "Oh, it's customer service." That's a part of it, but that's their brain trying to justify their decision. You know what I mean? So that's the part that I'm learning, that as I dig deep and try to understand, mostly because I can't figure out how to write mission vision. I'm like, what are we doing? Why? I don't know. So thank you, Mark, for bringing that on. Ross, you got a mission vision that you can kick to us for your company?
Well, I know, in our original business plan, I made one of those, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You want me to look yours up on Google so
I don't
we can
think
read it too?
I don't think you're going to find it on Google, but I don't even know that I can
That's where I am
think
right
of
now.
what it is, or I think if you were to ask me today to come up with one, I would have to look at, basically try to step back and look at the business as a whole and where it's gone to make it successful, and try to focus on that track. Because like you said, I mean, I've with my business, we've gotten off on some roads that didn't taking us where
you want
I wanted to go,
Right.
you know, and there has been some roads, you know, where we have taken and okay, this is a good path, you know, and then there's other roads that have been dead ends. And I would say that we've evolved a little bit throughout the last, call it 15 years. You know, and now I think that we've kind of found our path, you know.
Yeah.
At one time, I mean, I wanted every job, you know,
Yeah.
every job I bid, I wanted it. It didn't matter if it was something that I'd never done before or what, you know, I'd be like, oh, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, just
Yep.
sign the contract and I'll figure it out.
We'll just get it done.
Now
Just
it's
hungry.
Yeah.
Is their money good? Okay.
Yeah.
Does the check bounce? Okay. That's the only question.
But now, you know, I find myself saying, no, you know, if
Yeah.
go find if it's got to be that way, go find somebody else. I mean, I'd be happy to develop a relationship with you and try to come up with a solution to this, whether it be me working with another company to try to do that or whatever. I'd be happy to do that. But
Yeah.
like, if that's the way it's got to be, black or white, then I don't want it. So,
Yeah. And I would say that resonates with me a ton. I think what me and Jason would agree that everything you said there, including the point of you not being able to state a mission and vision, which I'm encouraging you to walk away from this podcast thinking that maybe you should.
At
least that's what
But he's got a really
I don't
good
even want
book
to think
for
about
you.
that shit.
It's hard. Okay, trust me, it's
I just want
hard.
to go hunting.
Exactly. But I think that's the purpose of what that is. And when I look at this and go, and a lot of this has just been reflection because I've been traveling. You know, we hit Michigan, which was an awesome show.
Utah.
I went up to Utah. Jason went to Idaho. We come here to Wisconsin, but when I connect with the customers and the base, I feel the mission. I feel the vision.
But you can't put words on it.
But I can't say it. You know what I mean? And that's my problem right now is I'm like, how do I explain this to an employee sitting back home? The best thing we did last year is we brought everybody to Wisconsin. I tried to bring them to different shows so they can feel that room. You know what I mean? Because there is something that happens in that room. And we do it without the room. We do it over the phone. There's different ways we're connecting, but man, it's really hard.
Different connection.
It's really hard to explain it. So that's where I'm at right now.
You know, I went back. I listened to our podcast we did last year here with Chip and Rough Cut when we were talking about because they're like, what is it with the brand?
Oh yeah,
you remember that one?
Yeah.
You
know, I could have been on this homework earlier if I'd have been smart enough. I'd have started last year.
You could go back and listen to your own podcast and get a bunch of your answers. Yeah. But that's just it. It's like even when we were talking last night, you try to put it in words. And you keep coming up with the words that you hear. Like I hear from our customer base, the customer service, the this, the that. But there is a deeper reason.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It is hard though.
I don't know. We're gonna find one. We're gonna. This is my homework, and it's been a little while. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's tough.
To
I know
me, it should be though. Like that's a pretty heavy. Like really, your mission statement is a big deal.
So I know one thing that happens to me, and I'm from what you're saying, buddy, I'm assuming this happens to you too. So, I go through these phases. Like it's bear season. That's where
bids go way
most
up.
of my and just most of my mental capacity, or however you want to say it, most of my focus is on that. Now, I'm not saying I don't do stuff for work on the side. You know, a customer emails me, I get back to them, whatever. But you know, my focus is just not down my business path.
Yeah.
Well, then I get into these phases, you know, where it's the off season of hunting or whatever, you know, and
you kick it in high gear.
I get a little more involved in the business. You know, I spend a little bit more time with my guys, you know, and I get on these tangents almost like you're on now. Like, okay, I'm going to straighten all this shit out now. You know,
we'll fix this stuff for next year.
Exactly.
By next season, I'm going to be ready to go.
Well,
I wonder if it happens at the end of hunting season most of the time. These little highs and lows.
Kind of seems like it.
There's swells.
My hunting season didn't go as good as I want, so I need to get some.
Seems to be a pattern here.
Got to get stuff ready for next year.
My take on all of this. I mean, it's different if you've got a 5-man team, a 10-man team, a 100-man team, a 5,000 employees, 20,000 employees, and you're running a worldwide company.
It gets
You know,
difficult.
Because it
well,
gets diluted.
Well, you're the boss.
Right. So I hope,
Ross,
but-
you're the boss at your place, right? So you don't have a big bureaucratic wheel. You don't have to go to your boss, and your boss doesn't have to go to their boss,
Right.
and that boss doesn't have to go to the next person.
There isn't a long chain.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're talking about hits and misses, and I don't care who you are. I mean, you know, companies they make stuff that they think is going to be great, and it's a stinker, and they make stuff that they don't have much confidence in, and it's a grand slam walk off.
The Garmin Astro was one of those, right?
So
you guys started when I was talking to them,
there you go. I mean, they have, you know, to some extent. I mean, they don't. I mean, the market in Europe is huge. It's just like it is here. You don't have any idea that there's people all over the world that have dogs that hunt, that they hunt with dogs, and I mean, so things like mission statements, while I think they're super important to larger companies. I mean, if you're a mom and pop organization, one of the things that's nice about that is that you don't have all that. I mean, you don't have you're.
But I challenge you on this because I live the mission statement. So when I'm in front of a customer, I mean, and I felt it yesterday, so I had to stay back to answer phones, and I answered 3 phone calls, and I connected with that customer, those 3 customers, extremely well. And I was like, shit, I need to be on the phone a little bit more. I can't be all the time.
But that's because you're the expert.
I know.
You're the niche.
But
you're
have to figure out a way.
You're
That's what the mission vision does for me, is to try to give clarity to the next level. And I don't need to be Garmin where there's 50 levels or whatever, how many levels, but I've got to build that second level. I've got to work. My job is to work with my first level, and I suck at that right now. You know what I mean? So ask Jason. Sometimes I'm like,
I might get an email response.
right. I need to be more consistent with my communication to my team. You know what I mean? What's below them, they'll take care of. You know what I mean? So I got to build that hierarchy. So while I understand, I totally agree with what there's not like 10 levels to get to the top. It still breaks down when there's only 2 or 3 levels. You know what I mean? Like it really.
And there's those levels with very minimal employees too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think people overlook that. They see a group of like W.
Yeah.
You know, there's 6 of us.
Yeah.
I think like it's not a big crew, but at the same time, this is such a niche market.
Yeah.
It's hard to find people that naturally have what you have, right? Like you have a natural passion for our sport.
Yeah.
And all of this.
I think I've been fortunate. This is all I've done. I mean,
Your whole
I'm
life,
60
right?
years old, and this is all I've done. This has been the only job I've really ever had, is working in the coon dog game.
Right.
And throwing beagles and bird dogs, but the coonhound sport for sure. But that's because I have dogs and I hunt, just like you have dogs and you hunt.
Yeah.
It's like Ross is passionate about what he does. He likes bidding on jobs and seeing those floors put in, and I mean that's completely different than maybe somebody that's working for you making $20 an hour that's got to slap those floors in, and they hate it. Like this is what we, the 4 of us are sitting here, and we all love dogs. We all love to hunt, and that's what we live for. I mean, I think the big, and think of how lucky that is that we're for one, we're in a country that allows us to do that, but that we live in a country where we can pursue our passions in our dreams. It's not like, I don't know what it'd have been like guys working in auto if they were working for Ford or Chrysler or GM, whoever working in a plant and putting cars together their whole life and being miserable, going into work and just
punch in, punch out.
Just being just hating what they do every day. I mean, I feel like I tell people I feel like I'm on vacation every day. Every day is vacation.
Yeah.
For me. I mean, I love what I do, love the folks that I work with.
But some of that has to come from the culture inside the company. And so, like, I think you could have two people sitting side by side you in Garmin. I'll use Garmin just because you're there. You're enjoying life. Garmin's building a culture for you that's working for you. Now, somebody next to you may not say, if they don't get that same values, they may be like, dude, I just punch in, I just whatever. And if somebody offered me $2 more an hour, they'd take it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of what this all boils down to for me is as I have employees come and go or whatever, we're not, and Ross kind of said it best. We're not the company for everybody. Like, in my interviewing process, I'm like, dude, I just want to be honest with you. Like, it's like feast or famine sometimes. I mean, the way we do things is like, it's all on. And then I do like a good, relaxing, fun environment too. So there's times where we're just like, hey, chill out. And if you can't twiddle your thumbs for a little bit and just enjoy yourself, this probably isn't the place for you either. Because I don't want to be 100 miles an hour all day long. I left Intel because it was a pressure cooker and it was a lot of speed, and you're always doing something new and pushing the limits. I'm like, I don't mind pushing the limits, but God,
Gotta catch your breath.
I want to go hunting. You know what I mean? I want to be able to push the limits here and then go slow down and go hunt here. You know what I mean? And that's kind of my personal goals. And so not every employee is a good fit. And also sometimes every customer is not necessarily a good fit. You know what I mean? Like, I've gotten to the point where we talk about in the shop where we fire customers. You know what I mean? Like, we've gotten to a situation where it's like, you know what? You're just not a great fit for us. It's like, we're not going to make you happy, and you're definitely not making us happy. So why are we trying to do this dance? You're like,
and we try really hard. It's usually 2 or 3 lines before it's like,
yeah, but I mean, you can just see the writing on the wall, and it's just like, hey, it's kind of like a dating. You know what I mean? Like, you both gotta want to be here, and if there's people who don't really want to be in the room with us, no problem. There's plenty of other businesses, and so, employees, customers, all those types of things just kind of meld into it. I think it all kind of ties together on the mission and vision, and you kind of got to be heading towards and have a, like you said, we have a passion that we enjoy, and we're all on the same boat. We all enjoy the same things, and I think that's really critical to this whole puzzle that I'm trying to solve.
So I would a number of years ago, I was at a meeting with it was actually one of our competitors, but they've been doing it forever.
Right.
And we were having a conversation similar to this, and one of the things I asked them, and I'm like, well, how do I, basically kind of like what you're saying, how do I get my employees so they're on basically to my level or whatever? And he's like, that's never going to happen.
You won't,
right?
Because you own the company.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They work for you. To them, this is just a job.
Right.
What they're most concerned about is on Friday that their paycheck's going to go through. And yeah, I mean, they're willing to do some stuff between the lines to make that a good relationship. But if you expect that your employees are going to be just as passionate about your company as you, it's never going to happen.
Right.
And he's like, one way that you can help facilitate that, he's like, well, first off, he asked me, he's like, well, what's the difference there? Basically I own the company. The company is me, and they're just on a branch off of that. But if you can somehow give your employees more ownership in the company, and ownership can be a lot of different things. It doesn't necessarily mean they got a piece of paper that says they own 15% of the company. Right. But trying to have them have more ownership, whether it just be in just their role. That is ways, to get them a little more emotionally attached to the company. Now, that's a tough thing to do. I'm pretty sure you're not just going to go hand out checks saying, hey, you own 20%, you own 20%. Now we're all equal. We're
Jason,
all equal.
I'm waiting for mine.
It's gonna bounce.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
I
true,
definitely
though.
agree that. I agree. I don't. Sometimes I think I do a good job of that. Sometimes I probably do a poor job of that. But,
Me as well.
I would say I'm not a micromanager. I don't like to be a micromanager.
No,
Am-
no, not at all.
check. Okay, good.
Check.
I don't want to be.
Buddy's
so-
100% correct on that.
But on the other hand, you're not a if you're like me, which
But I have high standards too.
exactly,
Yeah.
And I would say, I'm not a micromanager either.
Mm-hmm.
But when I poke my head in there and I see something going on that I don't really like, I'm not afraid to go in there and blow the whole damn thing up either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Jason feels really used to like comfortable.
No, not at all. for
And I'm
me.
not saying that's the right or the wrong approach. It's
At that same time, because you're how many employees do you have?
no
Do we even want to say it?
20-ish, depending
Okay.
on the day.
Yeah.
But what's nice is when you can pop your head in like that, it's a whirlwind when Buddy does that. Usually it's like everything's rolling and then boom, here comes the truck. But like you were saying, not having to go through the bureaucratic red tape, Mark, and going like Buddy can make a shift on a dime and it's a small enough crew we can do that.
Yeah.
And you are really good about letting us own our pieces. Like you're not on there conferencing in on my phone calls or whatever. Like you trust the fact that it's just happening. And it's
No, and that's like I think that's a critical piece of this.
Yeah.
And I know it can be frustrating to some people, like really frustrating to some people to do that.
It
But
is
I
a
do
different,
know.
like I feel I have a different connection with W than I would have if we wouldn't have gone through
The process you
the
did
process
to-
that you and I did. I wouldn't be as invested.
Yeah.
Like I guarantee it. That's just being honest. If you were Joe Blow selling carpet cleaners, I wouldn't give two craps. Like this is I'm here because
And
you
that's
wanted me here.
And that's the reason I'm going through this is trying to figure out how to solidify, and if nothing more, then I can communicate more clearly to you guys. Because I can communicate to the customer directly, but that's just not.
But then you got to be there,
I want to be hunting sometimes,
right? No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You have to have that support.
So
staff.
it needs to, the company face needs to be the same whether I'm there or not, and that's what I'm trying to establish.
yeah.
So,
I struggle with one of the main reasons I started this business is I didn't want to have to be somewhere from 9 to 5,
That's
Monday
me
through
too.
Friday.
Yeah.
So,
it's not a great vision
Now he's there
statement.
7:30 to 4.
but it's honesty,
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
don't get me wrong. I think, my business is doing pretty well and stuff, but if I didn't want to hunt, if I didn't have all this other stuff going on and I just immersed myself in my company,
Yeah.
I think it would be different, better, worse, whatever. It would definitely be different, but and I would like to say it would be better. But that's not, I don't want to do that. You know, I mean, I don't, there's a lot of stress that goes along with owning your own business. And, I need a way to relieve that, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, like Mark, you were talking, I don't know if you want to elaborate on it, but how much time you spent on the road when you started with Wick.
Yeah, it was. Everybody thinks that life is. I mean, you're a gypsy.
Right.
Yeah.
You're really a carnival freak. It's 100 and. There was many years you'd spend 180 days a year on the road. So there's no. There's you really don't have a life outside of work.
Yeah.
And it was like that at even at Tritronics when I went there for a few years. There's just no, and some of that's just personal choice. I mean, I've always liked traveling. I've always liked, for me as a kid, reading those magazines. If some people's heroes were,
Bon
Emmett
Jovi.
Smith or whatever, mine were coon hunters and
Yeah.
the great
Yeah, and
Farrell Miller from the bird dog side and
Right.
different people. So, when you're hanging out with those people and you're going to those hunts, I mean, those were my dreams. So, being young and you're single and I tell people I lived in a single wide trailer on 3 miles in on a dead end road. I hauled my own water in. I had a party phone line
What's a party phone line? It sounds fun.
What? It's what everybody's on the same phone line. You just pick up the phone.
It just rings different for you. You know, your ring is like 2 short rings. The neighbor's ring is like 3 long rings. But they can pick up and listen.
So whenever your neighbor's having a fight and that thing's just like ringing and she won't pick it up, you're like, pick up the phone.
Yeah, and I mean you can. I mean you can
just listen in.
Yeah, you can listen in. Like they can listen in on your conversations and stuff. And but for me, living in Super 8 hotels and stuff back then, that was like just
upgrade.
Yeah, it was just, a part of it.
Yeah.
I just felt more comfortable in a hotel room than I did when I was back home, really.
And what would you say your job was when you were doing that traveling?
Well, in those days, an extension of the company, excuse me, when I was with Wix, I'm selling products, tracking products, boots, bibs, chaps, coats, the whole deal, and dropping catalogs.
You were salesman, outside rep, inside rep.
Yeah, you're building rapport. You're basically, except for putting money in John's pocket or whatever, but you were building a rapport with the company, for the users. Same thing we're here for. Like I told people, like Utah and Michigan, we were selling shirts there. You know what I mean? And we have our T-shirt press. You buy what shirts you want, whatever. And both those clubs were like, "Oh, were you successful?" Like, here's my deal. I didn't bring those shirts to sell for the profit. I brought those shirts because I wanted to meet the customers, right? And if I just set up a table, a 10-foot table or whatever, and put a garment on there and sat behind the table, I'd get a handful of guys that want to come say, "Hi, hey, buddy, I listened to you on a podcast," or whatever. Like, "Oh, I just want to come shake your hand and say thank you." I'd get, I'd go have dinner and I'd sit down with, 7 people around me and I get a visit with 7 people. But by taking those shirts, I met hundreds of people, come up and give them a chance to come talk to me.
I think the biggest thing that you're not thinking about, certainly as a young man, I didn't think about it all. Going to all those different events, those different dog events, the different breed events, whether it's bird dogs or beagles or what you don't realize when you're living that life and it's just the years are spinning by you. For me, it was all the people that I met, because then, when I went to Tritronics, it was a great fit for me. I was really the only dog guy there.
Yeah.
I mean, here's this company, we got 100 people working there. Nobody really knows anything about hunting dogs. It like blows me away.
Yeah.
Weird.
But so I go in to work in the dealer sales department, but I know all those dealers. I have personal relationships with hundreds of those people. I know them and their wives and their kids, and I never really realized that until I went to try. And then they looked at me like, who is this guy? And I'm just like, well, I know these people. I've been doing this for 10 years. And so you take those relationships for granted.
And even if you don't know the person, you know how to handle that type of person. Right. Meaning you could walk into a room with a hound guy that you never met, and you already will relate to him just by as soon as you start talking. Like that 10 years.
Immediate connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a trust there. Yeah. And that's part of, I'm going to keep going back to the vision and mission statement, but that's the part of the cortex brain that makes, and I'm sounding smart. I just read this book just this morning.
It's
man.
all recited. Don't buy it.
Audio.com. I'm just
here.
regurgitating shit right now. But the part of the brain that does that is it's an emotional part. You can't put words to it. It's not a logical part. You know what I mean? So that what you're describing just relates to that. Is like you've learned to emotionally connect to a big user group, and that makes you a trustworthy person. And so you have trust with this group, and so you can that next guy, that other hound guy, is going to trust you. And so we have trust, W. So anyways, not to short circuit you, but that's the piece that you were building for them, was you were building and establishing trust, and you carried that trust with you to the next company.
So I think it's trust, and then I think the other word is just credibility.
Mm-hmm.
You're building that, and the longer, certainly the longer the W is around and keeps taking care of folks, the more people you meet, it just
multiplication
grows.
factor.
I mean, really, Ross was just talking about when I started. I wanted every job, But you learn over time. Like I wanted to go to every event, but you learn. You know what? That event, that place, going there doesn't make us any money. It doesn't help.
We don't connect.
It doesn't help the business at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same deal with what you're doing. I mean, after a while, you're like, it's not going to make us any money.
Yeah.
It's
my grandfather used to always say, son, you're just pissing your pants to keep your ass warm. Well, and I tell folks that all the time, I mean, it's like, you can only do so many. That works for a while, but then you get up.
It starts to cool
You
off a little bit.
You got a chapped ass, right?
Well, and more than that too. I mean, if it's the money is part of it, but if you're dealing with a customer that isn't fun, he's probably not going to be talking very well about you
Either
either.
way.
So if I do a job for somebody that I'm not good at, but I'm just going to try to fake like I am or
You're gonna
whatever.
do it twice.
It's
Yeah.
it's going to bite me in the ass, and now pretty soon they can say, hey, don't call HTF. They told me they'd do this and it didn't turn out right and they screwed it up. Same way with you, I mean, you're better off just to not have that relationship than to
absolutely
fracture it.
Sometimes it's like,
That's
man,
hard.
And it was a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I can tell. I was talking to a customer. I said, I can tell we are not going to meet your expectations. Like I can we are not able to meet your expectations. And unfortunately, it was a Garmin problem. Or there was just so much, and we were just like, man, I don't want to promise you what's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We were having some issues, and I told her, I said, I think you need to find somebody who can meet your expectations. And unfortunately, I don't know who I can send you to. I don't have a recommendation, but like I don't want to pretend like it's going to be okay, because I know that this may or may not work out for you. And that was just it. It was the same thing. I didn't trust them. Like trust is kind of a two-way street. You know what I mean? Like people need to trust me, W, whatever you want to call it, this thing. Well, as we grow, I've learned we need to kind of trust our customers too. And there's some customers that are customers in name, they're a transaction, but they're not the customer that I want to focus on. You know what I mean? Like we have some really, really, and a lot of really awesome customers that I'm like, man, like it's humbling. Sometimes you walk and you see people
you
wearing
cultivated
a logo, and
that.
it's like, holy cow. Those are the customers I want to focus on. You know what I mean? Like I don't want the guy that is trying to whittle us down. He's going to do one transaction that we may never see again. It's like we don't need that. It doesn't enrich my life any.
When did you make that shift though? Because like Ross was saying, like when you early on you wanted every job. Like I know I struggle with that personally, and you had to get me like through that. It's like I got to take care of every person that calls, and I felt that until like I think boundaries are something that play a big role in that people struggle with on a whole. I think setting hard boundaries is tough, where you really had to kick my butt over that line where it's like you're not going to make everyone happy.
Yeah, and some of it's how the customers treat employees. You know what I mean? Like if somebody calls and is just cussing an employee out, and it's like,
Then they get me.
And right now, when
Then they get transferred
we
to
send them to
Jason.
Jason first.
First line of defense.
Are you cursing because it's the vernacular, or are you cursing because you're pissed? Which
Right.
one is it?
You're allowed to be mad. I mean, and the cuss words don't bother me, but if they're getting personal and it's rough on the employee, it's like right now it's not easy finding employees. I can tell you right now, it's easier to find customers than it is to find employees. So I'm like, Let me find another customer. I can't replace this employee as easy as I can replace that customer. And that's a market analysis that I've just learned recently as I'm trying to hire people. But no, I think it's just dynamic of you learn, and you can take it too far sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, and I'm not going to lie, sometimes it's like you just want to be lazy. You know what I mean? And I'm just as guilty to be like, that guy's just complaining and da-da-da-da-da. And, we're never going to make him happy. And it's like, okay, and that's why I always, and I train my staff to look back at history, customer history. And I've spent a lot of money so that when they look at an account, we can see lifetime sales. We can see how many orders. We can see some things, not because I want to fit everybody in this bucket, but it's easier for me to go, is this a customer that's been with us a long time?
Consistency.
And he deserves us trying to work through this issue. You know what I mean? He's frustrated. He's having problems or whatever. And some of those times it's still like, hey, no, we still don't want the customer. You know what I mean? Like the way they handle us or treat employees, that may override a $10,000 dollar customer that we've had. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. Like we made a lot of money from you, but it's still not enjoyable for the employee to handle this account. And it's either I got to do it, which I want to go hunting, you know what I mean? So, or we got to find somebody else. But those types of questions are really difficult sometimes. And I think sometimes, I'll be honest, like I know sometimes it's easier for me to stick my head in the sand and be like, I don't want to deal with this. Like it's too much work, but that's not the right answer.
Good relationships are worth working on.
Yeah.
I know for my business, when that changed, I'll be flat honest. It was, a lot of it was just the success that we've had.
Yeah.
Early on, you're looking at a $30,000 job. Like, man, that could keep the lights on in this place for a while,
Yeah.
But, as we had some success and made some money and stuff, you look at that $30,000 job and you're like, man,
is it worth it?
Yes. Is it going to be worth it anymore? And it's just your perspective a lot of times changes.
It's a continual growth though.
But really, also, I've had those conversations with those customers where, like you said, like we're not going to be able to meet your expectations. You're going to have to go somewhere else. And 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road, whatever, I've gotten calls back from those people saying, hey man, we had so-and-so company do this floor. It did not turn out well.
Right.
Like basically saying I was right. And hey, I appreciate your honesty. I know that you're going to be honest with me moving forward and not just trying to make a buck and giving you the taillight warranty and off you go, So I've had those conversations come back and really benefit, me and the customer.
Yeah.
Nope. I think absolutely. And that's part of when we're talking about, like, I was like, values. One of our values is honesty. You know what I mean? Being honest and honesty over the sale. You know what I mean? To the fact of telling somebody.
But sometimes I struggle with this myself. Sometimes I'm too honest. Like
I at least
I know a guy like that.
So one of the three customers that I had yesterday, one of them was TT15 Mini. He was like, are they out of the TT15 Minis? I go, yeah, there's some issues with them, the stock and inventory. And I said, I have some on the shelf. I said, I can sell you one. And he was like, man, I really don't have the money to afford one right now. But if I'm not going to be able to get one, so, and I just told him, I said, man, I'd love to take your money, even the money you don't have. But I'm like, I think if you could weather a couple months a storm, you know what I mean? I'm like, I have a TT50 Mini I can send you. We had like 50 of them on the shelf or whatever. And I'm like, there's been some issues with the progression and the stock and the inventory and all that kind of stuff. But I think and I just told him, I said, Garmin will get this sorted out. And I said, we're looking at a short-term problem. So if you can't afford that right now, I'm like,
don't put yourself in a bind.
Don't put yourself in a bind for it. You know what I mean? Like,
it'll be there
if you
tomorrow
call me
or whatever,
in a week or 2 weeks or whatever, I'm like, I can find you a caller to get you by and keep you hunting. 2 years ago, when the COVID deal, it was a whole different. That was a different deal. I was like, everybody should have had
when's it coming?
Yeah. So And I just told him, I said, I don't think we're in that mode. Like, number one, I get you full size, you know, because he was running curs, so it wasn't even that he had like small beagles. He didn't even need the mini. I said, we got options. Don't blow your last dollar right now. Just buying a collar is going to sit and wait. And same thing. It was like I got off that phone, and most of it was because you know the team was up here setting up. So we sent Jason and Mike and Jess and Chris early, and so me and Olivia stayed back a couple hours to ship our orders, and so. It was just this whole month, not to get emotional on people, but this whole month has been
Need tissue.
Yeah.
I don't get to see this side. I'm down at my house. I'm like, what happened this month, man? Fill me in.
But traveling, meeting customers, like we haven't been out to Michigan, we haven't been out to Utah.
Idaho was 7 years.
We went to Idaho last year, Eastern Idaho, which they're having.
Eastern, yeah, that's this weekend.
It's really. When we made the circuit before, I mean, we were just a little dot on the map. You know, we were doing good,
right.
But it was the beginning of the roller coaster ride, and so going afterwards and seeing people's faces again, it's just made me really think and be like, okay, number one, super thankful. Number two, really humble, and number three, realizing I still don't know what the hell I'm doing, but.
It's a humbling experience, though. Really, I mean, like I say, with the field trials and whatever, my kids still. There's your sweatshirt, Dad. There's a W. There's this. They're still like in awestruck every time we go anywhere.
Yeah,
but the presence and the culture is just it's changed a lot. As somebody who worked against you for a lot of years, the culture is huge. I mean, that's why big companies. I'm sure you guys at Garmin, you got a culture department. Like every big company. They have that because it's so important, and we're lucky enough that we're just like ground floor with it.
Yeah. But my goal is to define that, to get it at least on paper, so that when somebody has a podcast and somebody asks what my mission statement is, I'll just spit it out, Mark. I won't have to like Google that. No,
we're gonna edit that out.
We'll just, but and that's the thing is all these good companies have those things. But sometimes communicating them, and Mark, you did know what your mission statement was. You just couldn't like it was
word for word, yeah.
Yeah, when there's
when it's written so eloquently. I mean,
how many people do you think wrote that statement?
They had a team.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but
yeah,
it wasn't a 5-minute job. I know that.
No, it probably paid a lot more than an hour's worth of work too.
I don't even want to talk about. I think how much expensive their mission statement was. When you get that big, there's so much. The bureaucracy.
So, can I ask you something about the previous mission statement?
Yeah.
Because you had a mission statement.
Well, I had a fake one, but yeah.
Well, but you built a company off of it, really. I mean,
yeah. So what was it?
I don't know. That was before I came to work here. No, it was.
It said.
I saw it. You put it on Facebook.
Yeah, I did. So that was, it said it's reputation, not.
Yep.
It's
dedication. It was something.
See, I can't. Yeah. This is how good that is, Mark.
Not just reputation.
That, Mark, you got 3 words.
You can't even come up.
Yeah, he better not give you any shit about Garmin's because he wrote the damn thing,
and his name's on the business.
It's only 3 words,
Ownership.
and I still can't. But it's more than reputation. It's dedication.
That's it.
That's good. And I don't. That's not exactly. As I'm learning and studying what a mission and vision is, it's like, yeah, that's not exactly what a mission statement's supposed to be.
Like that, the technical definition of a.
That I couldn't take somebody off the street and say that to them, and they would just get it. You know what I mean? So it's not clear. So I need to redefine that. So that's what those words mean a lot to me, and they do mean a lot to our customers.
Mm-hmm.
Our customers relate to that. I mean, that's more of like a marketing slogan or whatever.
It's a great T-shirt.
Yeah.
We sold a lot of them.
But to an employee that doesn't have that connection, I couldn't just be like, Ross, it's more than dedication. It's
No.
it's more than reputation.
It's dedication.
Yeah, I still can't.
This reminds me of Tommy Boy.
Yeah, right.
You can get a good look at a bull by
Wait, shove your head up the butchers.
And so you can't just take some employee off the street and
Yeah.
be like, "It's more than reputation, John. It's dedication." Have a good day.
To what? Why?
Exactly. You know what I mean? So that part of it, when I look at it and go, okay, the mission vision aren't for the customers. You know what I mean? It isn't for me. I understand. I feel them. The
It's
customers
for you.
feel it. It's for the employees that don't have the dog or the connection or whatever. And so that I can really clearly, when they have a problem, when a customer comes to them with a problem, I can look at them and go, well, it's more than reputation. It's dedication. And then
They're like, what?
exactly. Like,
Huh?
you just let me know what you come up with. You got to figure this out. But a mission statement, a vision statement should help an employee handle a problem, whatever problem that I mean. So that's kind of the full circle of why I don't like that, and what I'm learning about is I've come up with those words because they meant something to me and they work. But
how many years ago was that, though?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
think of
2012.
how much your company's grown, and even you as an owner.
and evolved. And
And there's a lot to it because you go back.
I should try that next time whenever somebody has a problem with
Well,
a customer. I'm just going to be like,
Don't
you know
shove
what?
your head up the butcher's.
I'm just going to be like, more than reputation. It's dedication. Jason?
Yep. Well, it's interesting because it's even harder, I think, going back and trying to redefine something that you defined that many years ago, because you keep hearing it. It's reiterated over and over and over within the culture and like the customer base. It is W and
and everybody gives, everything is all functional or not functional. I can't think of it, but logical.
Yeah.
Every person will give logical answers to why they shop, why they do this, why they, buy. It's all logical, but the decision isn't logical.
they do it because they feel good doing it.
Yeah, most of the time. Like when you go buy a car, why is it that I buy a Ford?
God only knows.
Because I don't like walking. I don't, you know what I mean? But everything comes down to a logical decision,
Right.
But a Chevy has a steering wheel, it has a gas pedal, it does everything. Like if I said gas mileage, they're better there's better ones out there with gas mileage. If you said electric, you know what I mean? Like there's a cost with that. You know what I mean? Like you're logically making decisions, but truly we're emotionally connected to the brand.
Yeah.
So
relationships,
trust, loyalty,
rapport.
You know what I mean? Things that you can't logically explain. You know what I mean? You will trust somebody in your community over an expert outside your community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think there's just a cool factor.
That's it.
That's all. I mean, that's what it is. And like people think your T-shirts and your logo are cool. That's their niche. That's their market. When I worked at Tritronics, you do these buying group shows. If we got a couple minutes, this is a good story.
Yeah.
We got it.
And I got probably 50 stories like this, but so you go to these buying groups shows, and most of the independent retailers that you have in your area are members of these buying group shows, worldwide distributors, Sports Inc., Nation's Best Sports. And they have a couple shows a year, and they're all over the country. And I did this show, the Sports Inc. show. It was in Phoenix, and I'd been doing them for several years. When I went to Tritronics, I had no idea what a buying group show was or anything. But I'd been doing these shows for maybe 5 years at this point and was locked in. It's basically you go and it's like a little mini SHOT Show. Right. So you go, it's not open to the public. It's only open to store owners. They come in and, loopholes there. All the gun guys are there. Everybody's there. So all the people who bought Tritronics, there's this booth and this young guy next to me selling coolers. And so I said, hey, your coolers, they're really cool. I'll see if I can help you out this weekend.
Right.
And he didn't know anybody. And his name was Roy. And so when they would write a Tritronics order, I'd say, hey, do you guys know my buddy Roy? He's making these coolers. And
his last name wasn't Yeti, was it?
no,
So you did a pretty good job.
Cooler.
yeah, so this guy's name was Roy Cedars was his name. So, so I said, do you know my buddy Roy, and you should look. And so they'd go over, and so 2 or 3 years of this goes by, and it gets where we go to dinner every night when we're at these shows. And when he'd fly into Phoenix, I would pick him up at the airport at the end of the show. Then I would take him back to the Phoenix airport, and he'd fly home. So, and he and his brother owned this company, Ryan, 2 really good young guys.
Right.
And I got to know these guys. I got to know their story, and I was just starting up Zepp's Predator Calls then, Zepp's Coon Squallers, and we had just hit a lick where got into Sportsman's Warehouse, and we would just talk about business and life and different things. And so Roy and Ryan, the company that they were starting and making was this company called Yeti Coolers. And obviously they've become much more successful than Zepp's Predator Calls.
It was Yeti.
It really was.
It really was. Yeah.
That's wild.
So, so I tell people,
You know what? Before you, I like how he kept his cool. He didn't even,
tip it
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
dude.
I'm like, I guess it's not Yeti. So
Yeah, I didn't either. I was
probably
like,
RITC.
I'm like, this is probably a no-name company. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, it's probably just like Coleman or
so,
something.
yeah. So
Anyways.
I tell people, there's a lot of coolers. There's not. I said, but you want a Yeti cooler, like, because Luke Bryant sings about Yeti coolers.
it's a status thing almost.
And
Yeah.
they're cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the same with the tumblers. I mean, you can get those tumblers half price that's somebody's name on it, but you buy it because it's freaking cool.
Yeah.
Brand
Right?
recognition.
It's like it's this really great product, this cool thing. So I mean, I think on so much of this stuff, it's a cool factor. Like, people think your company's cool because you do what your passion is, what they do.
Yeah.
So there's this coolness that in this niche that revolves around all of these things, and,
Yeah.
but I have a bunch of stories like that always people are like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, no. I'm like, actually, those dudes, they got a ranch in Texas. They asked me to come hunt with them. And I'm like, what? I go, no, I don't even say that stuff anymore. But
I think that happens more though in the outdoor world than people realize. It's like this untouchable thing, but yet like those guys and relating and building that rapport and making those connections, it is tangible when you're fully invested.
Timing's a lot of it though too.
Oh, for
Like-
sure.
well, if you're the first to the game with something, when you say timing,
Yes.
Yeah.
they were the first to the game with those really
Yeah.
cool
Yep.
coolers. Garmin was the first to the game in GPS. They were the first to the game, and certainly the really cool GPS products for dogs that work well. And we have some competitors, but certainly nothing that rivals
Yeah.
their
sure.
their coolness.
Yeah, I'd
Right.
have a hard time starting W 2.0, and
Yeah.
fighting against them. I mean,
Try building
Right.
Plum Tree. Where
No, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
speaking from experience,
no shit.
Yeah, so there's all those, there's a zillion things like that, but yeah, timing is part of it. I mean, when I started Zepp's Predator Calls, it was really Zepp's Coon Squallers, and that was something that I just made it. And then I started making them. They were green, and everybody thought that. Well, now I make them in purple and pink, and they're like, "Well, what do you do?" I don't. I said, "It doesn't matter what color I think is cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I mean that I like the red one." I said, there's people that just like your hats. There's people that buy pink ones. There's people that buy purple ones. It doesn't matter as long as they're buying
orange.
it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? As long it's it's not always just what you think is cool, but certainly there's got to be T-shirt designs that you thought, man, I'm going to sell 10 million of these stinking things. That
the aviator,
right? You couldn't give them away, right? And you're like, I don't understand. And then there's ones where you go, oh yeah, that looks all right. I just make that, and then it just everybody buys it.
The one he's wearing right there.
Yeah,
I like that design.
Yeah,
but it doesn't have a dog in it.
Yeah,
it was, and I liked it because I love the mountains. It's like it got the mountains, it's got a sunset, it's got W. It means something to me. But damn it, if we can't sell those damn things,
that's why he's got one on.
We're
going to sell a pile of them today.
Well, there's a million pictures of mountains and sunsets, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't. That doesn't mean
it doesn't
W.
Connect
it
with
doesn't connect with. So stuff that I get it. There's stuff. I made a Wix made a boot dryer. Mm-hmm. The freaking coolest, the greatest boot dryer in the world. I mean, you put a hair dryer into it. You got soaking. If your boots have been totally soaked 1,000%, you can put that in, and in an hour you got a dry pair of boots, right? So I had half a dozen of them made in diamond plate. And they look cool. And then they cost $45 to ship. Mm-hmm. Okay. The box that you got to put them in is $6. You got to add another $4 on top of that to have the boxes shipped to you. So now you got to add $55 to the price, just to cover shipping. So the things instead of the thing being, $100, it's, that they cost me $90 just to have them made.
Oh yeah.
And but I thought certainly there'll be people that will want in our sport, especially in the, that'll want a boot dryer like. Mm-hmm. No. I mean, you got to get, damn near $200 out of them because of shipping. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And really, you ought to have to sell them for like $300.
Yeah.
Right.
But nobody wants to. You can't
buy a new pair of boots for that.
Right. Right. So, but I thought, hey, people, we're not going to sell a ton of these things, but we'll sell some. But there's no interest, and it's one of the coolest things we've ever made.
And where can we find that?
MarkZepp.com.
MarkZepp.com. Get yours today.
MarkZepp.com. Yeah.
Well, like the great Joe Dirt said, it's not you, it's the consumer.
Yeah.
Our shirt, the aviator one we were talking about last weekend, that was so funny because we did those at first and we didn't sell.
The dog?
Yeah.
Well, we sold them as some youth
shirts.
But we were screen printing. And it's a really good indication sometimes that it's like you can look at a problem, and because we picked the color, so we had a Texas orange color with this for the youth because we had the screen print, so we had to drill down these colors, and it just it didn't work. But now the people can put that white design on a black one or whatever, and maybe it's that
we repurposed it. Like it's our podcast logo now.
Yeah. So we built it, and now it's doing better. You know what I mean? So it's like, man. So sometimes
timing.
I tell people like when they're designing, and graphic designers are really hard. Like I've had problems sometimes with graphic designers. Like, you want to talk about stories?
There's artists and graphics designers.
But I would just tell you this: when you go that way, when I would sit the first year that was out there and I met Roy and we went to dinner. I'm like, why did you call him Yeti? You know, he told me, he went into to all that, but I'm thinking, that's a name. That name will never take
stick.
off. You know, I'm thinking,
You gotta go like Coleman or something like that.
you know, and I'm thinking, gosh, I mean, the product's so cool, but I don't know about that name. Now it's a household name.
I thought the same thing about Kuyu when I first saw Kuyu.
Yep.
I'm like, no one's gonna buy something. I can't even pronounce a damn thing.
nobody-
And now I got
Your
Buddy's
Jesus
got a
walking
pants on.
billboard.
Yeah.
I got mine on too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing. Everybody's like kiwi, kiwi,
Yeah.
kiwi.
Kiwi.
So I don't even care. Don't whatever. Yeah, same thing. Like it's and I don't know what the meaning of that is. I'm sure there's some kind of storyline on it, but
Yeah, I guess I've never heard it either.
do you know what the
No.
Yeti?
Yeah, it was just like, the Yeti snow.
That's what I thought
Yeah.
too.
They're
Yeah.
just- yeah. No, it's those are always interesting topics. Sometimes when you look at like the beginnings of stuff that before they sprout and before they do things, and
And to see how it changes.
yeah,
That's it's too bad. That'd be a heck of a podcast for you to
I'll
talk to him and how they got into that and his family history. It's really it's a fascinating Americana story,
yeah.
and
I'm gonna need that phone number.
I got it, buddy. You won't get it.
And that's where honesty comes from.
Sometimes too honest.
Exactly.
I remember one time at Garmin, they were trying to we were having all these people come in, I don't know, 50 writers or coming in, and they said, they were looking for gifts, and they were like, they need a Yeti, and they needed them like laser engraved and stuff. I said, they said, well, we just don't have time. We can't get that done. And I said, well, when is it? And it was like a month away or something. I said, well, I can probably get that done for you. If you really want it done for Garmin. And, they looked at me. I said, here's the email. Here's the, but now this gentleman's really busy. Like the two of you don't need to be pen pals.
Right.
I'll let him know that you're going to send an email and what we're looking for, and whoever he sends you on to,
That's what you do.
that's
Yeah,
what you
keep
do.
it to that.
Yeah, keep it. Yeah.
Right.
But we got it done.
Yeah, exactly. Say, hey, don't make us any more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah.
Don't ruin this contact.
Oh, that's funny. Well, we probably ought to wrap this up. You got an empty
I gotta
booth
go
up
to
there,
work.
Yeah.
and they're paying you to be at the booth, so we
That's
probably
it.
get you there. I think we covered it pretty good. If any of the customers have some insight on this, it's legitimately a project I've been working on. Like a lot of our customers have been with us from the beginning, and if you can, not logically, because I don't need the logical answer. I need to figure out what it is how we emotionally connect, and what it is that W means to them. That's what I'm looking for. Let's wrap it up and let's go. I'm gonna go meet some customers.
Thanks,
instead of
guys.
talking.